There have been some truly shocking WWE departures. These departures can come from a wrestler being released from their WWE contract, or they can come due to the wrestler in question deciding that enough is enough and deciding to seek employment elsewhere. For these departures to be shocking, there should have been virtually zero initial reports that the wrestler was going to exit the company, and the overall fan response to the departure should have been one of complete and utter astonishment. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 of the most shocking departures that nobody saw coming. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out our new channel, Wrestlelamia Shorts. Number 10. Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman massively overachieved on the WWE main roster. Strowman debuted as part of the Wyatt family with limited experience in the ring, but Strowman managed to work on his craft and get better and better with each passing match. Eventually, Strowman transformed into one of the most over characters on the entire show, and his infamous feud with Roman Reigns was one of the standout rivalries of the past decade. In a shocking turn of events, it was announced by WWE in 2021 that Braun Strowman had been released from his WWE contract. This was such a surprise as Strowman was featured in a prominent spot at WrestleMania 37, and just before his release, he was in a WWE title match at that year's WrestleMania Backlash event. Speaking about his release during an interview with Toronto's Sun, this is what the former Universal Champion had to say. "It was a very hard pill to swallow because at the end of the day, I realized that I was just put on this earth to be a WWE superstar. At first, it was a big shock because it was like, alright, what am I going to do now? I didn't want to do anything else." It was reported that Strowman's release was strictly a financial decision, and lucky for Strowman, he was brought back into the company over a year later to be a key part of the SmackDown brand. Number 9. Daniel Bryan. When the Nexus debuted on Raw in 2010, it was the talk of the wrestling world. The angle was bold, controversial, and it was the exact thing that WWE needed at the time. Praise from fans towards the angle quickly turned to anger. It was announced that Nexus member Daniel Bryan had been released from WWE. It turned out that Bryan had choked ring announcer Justin Roberts with his own tie, and due to WWE being a PG product, this was strictly forbidden. Arn Anderson, who was a producer at the time, stated on his podcast that Vince McMahon fired Bryan as he expected major backlash for the choking spot. Bryan's WWE departure wouldn't last long as he was brought back into the company at the 2010 SummerSlam event, and he would slowly but surely ascend to the very top of the WWE ladder. Number 8. Sasha Banks and Naomi. The internet wrestling community was sent into a frantic state in May of 2022 when it was revealed that Sasha Banks and Naomi had walked out of WWE Raw. The two were said to be part of the Raw main event, but due to creative differences, the two left their women's tag team titles at the arena and opted to walk out of the company, never to return. This came somewhat out of nowhere, as it appeared that both Banks and Naomi were happy in WWE, yet this incident was evidence that fans never truly know what's going on behind the scenes. The incident and subsequent departure was so severe that it shattered the relationship between WWE and the two former champions. Banks would find herself working in Japan, whilst Naomi would eventually sign for Impact Wrestling, where she would quickly become the women's champion. Number 7. Aleister Black. In May of 2021, Aleister Black made his return to WWE TV with a new villainous character. Black had put a ton of effort into making his character meaningful, and a creative plan sounded thrilling. Black was set for a feud with popular star Biggie, and this was something that would have truly enhanced the WWE product at the time. Sadly, just days after his return, Black was released by WWE. It was reported that Black was released due to quote-unquote budget cuts, but WWE had spent a considerable amount of money repackaging Black, so this made no sense. Fans were quite rightly shocked and upset by WWE's decision, and Black decided to take his talents to AEW, where he'd be rechristened as Malachi Black. Number 6. The Big Show. It would seem like an impossibility that The Big Show would ever leave WWE. He'd been with the company for the best part of 22 years, and there seemed to be no signs that The Big Show was unhappy with his role. However, in early 2021, it was formally announced that Big Show had departed from the company, and fans wanted answers. It turned out that The Big Show wasn't happy with WWE fizzling him out of creative plans, as he believed he had so much to offer the company. The former WWE champion went into detail in relation to this during an interview with Inside the Ropes.
It was frustrating. That was one of the big battles that I had with Vince. I mean, he's an innovator. He's brilliant. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. He understands the human dynamic. I didn't want to be in that Legends role. I mean, I kept teasing him. I said, "Hey, quit trying to put me in Hines. I'm not ready to be in the retirement home. Like, quit shoving me there." You know, And that's something that WWE has always done too. They
Big
will,
Show decided to sign for AEW, which, whilst a surprising move, has been a move that has benefited him, as he has nothing but praise for AEW since he arrived on the scene. Number 5. Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy had every tool possible to become world champion in WWE. WWE would give Kennedy push after push, yet a notorious incident on Raw in 2009 led to the WWE cutting ties with him. During a match on Raw, Kennedy performed a back suplex on Randy Orton. This suplex wasn't executed properly, so Orton landed in an awkward position, and Orton was so furious with what had transpired that he went directly to Vince McMahon and Kennedy was fired. It was rumored that Cena supported Orton in his vendetta against Kennedy, but this has never been 100% confirmed. This firing would be completely unexpected, and Kennedy would end up signing for TNA, where he would become a multi-time world champion for the promotion. Number 4. Kurt Angle. Our fans had no idea just how extreme Kurt Angle's personal demons had become in 2006, and when he was released from his WWE contract, fans were bewildered as to why WWE would release one of their biggest stars. It was Angle who initiated his WWE departure, as he was in such a bad place mentally, and he believed that things were going to get way worse for him if WWE didn't release him from his contract. Angle would discuss this on his podcast, and this is what the Hall of Famer had to say.
I was just angry. I was angry at myself. I was angry at the company. So I leave the room. I go outside. I start crying. I don't know what to do. The company wouldn't release me up until this point. They wanted to keep me. They just wanted me to go to rehab and take a break and come back. So I walked back in and I said to Vince, I can't do this anymore. I was crying. I said, if you don't release me, I think I'm going to kill myself. And I didn't mean I was going to commit suicide. I meant that I was going to accidentally kill myself. OD on painkillers, wrestle myself to death. I didn't know. And I had to get out. And so Vince looks at me and says, you're released. He said, you know what, take a break, go to rehab, come back. We'll have a contract waiting for you. Just take your time. And I appreciated it. I was very grateful. Thing is, I didn't talk.
Upon being released, Angle would sign for TNA, which allowed a flexible schedule and would permit Angle to get the help he so urgently needed. Number 3. Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler has been a WWE mainstay since 2006, and it seemed like Ziggler would retire in the company. However, when news broke in September 2023 that WWE and Ziggler had parted ways, fans didn't know how to react. Ziggler had been barely used on WWE TV, yet he had survived so many WWE talent cuts that it seemed like a certainty that he was exempt from ever being fired. Wrestlers past and present, including names such as The Rock, John Cena, Ric Flair and Kurt Angle, all came forward to announce their support for him, and they stated that they were shocked by WWE's decision. Ziggler was one of the most respected and beloved talents in the locker room, and his presence is going to be sorely missed. Hopefully, Ziggler decides to take his endless skills elsewhere, and whatever company the former world champion finds himself in is ultimately going to be better off with Ziggler attached to it. Number 2. Bray Wyatt. In 2021, WWE decided to release former champion Bray Wyatt. This was a questionable move, as Wyatt, as well as being one of the most creative minds in the company, was also a legitimate draw, with his merch often being offering positive financial results for WWE. It was reported that Wyatt often butted heads with WWE management, notably Vince McMahon, and this is why McMahon made the drastic call to release Wyatt from his WWE deal. Fast forward to 2022 and McMahon's involvement in WWE creative would be heavily reduced, and this allowed Triple H to bring Wyatt back in for another run, which was a celebrated move as Wyatt was now back where he belonged. And number 1, Brock Lesnar. WWE had put all their resources into making Brock Lesnar the next top guy in the company. From the summer of 2000 all the way to early 2004, Lesnar was one of the biggest names in WWE, so when it leaked online that Lesnar was finishing up with WWE at WrestleMania 20, a sense of total shock ran through the wrestling community. Nobody saw this coming, but Lesnar was completely burnt out and he hated the WWE lifestyle. Former head of talent relations Jim Ross had this to say in relation to Lesnar leaving in 2004 on his podcast.
Well, he's burned out. He's burned out. He's getting bad advice from some of his peers, I believe. And he had this dream of playing in the National Football League. And apparently he'd had that dream for many, many years, but he'd been so focused and so grounded in the wrestling world, amateur wrestling world, that he never got to really do that. He didn't fully understand the travel. You know, when we had him in OVW, he didn't travel except by the ring. He drove the ring truck. He was a ring crew foreman. But that was all local stuff. You drive and you're back home that night. And that was not the case in his career. And knowing the trajectory of where he was headed, it wasn't going to lessen. He was going to be on the road more. Any international tour was going to include Brock Lesnar. And any major events in the States was going to include Brock Lesnar. So I think he forecast all that a little bit, and it kind of got overwhelming for him. But it was very abrupt. We were not ready for that announcement that I'm leaving. It was a little bit of a shocker, and hard to digest and hard to process, because Vince felt like he was doing, we were treating Brock well, and he was making a lot of money.
Following Lesnar's infamous match with Goldberg at WrestleMania 20, he would take a step back from WWE for the next 8 years. Fast forward to 2012, and Lesnar would agree to return to the company with a part-time deal, which would allow Lesnar a ton of flexibility when it came to his travel and schedule, which was one of the best moves for Lesnar, as he's been on a lucrative deal for over a decade and counting. But there you have it, folks. 10 shocking WWE departures that nobody saw coming. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.